Welcome. You are just in time for an adventure, and it's a big one. Today's adventure heralds what is arguably the most spectacular miracle of all time, the Red Sea crossing. The Israelites have just emerged from their trek across the seafloor. The Egyptian army drowned behind them. Surely the Almighty is with these people. For a moment they can exhale. They are saved, but now comes the hard part. They are in the middle of the desert, not knowing what is ahead of them. As Michael Rood is about to explain, this is where the Almighty begins to teach His children. They are about to learn some lessons on the way to Sinai.
That brings us to Exodus 15, verse 1. Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto Yehovah. And he spake, saying, I will sing unto Yehovah, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. Now we read in verse 21 that it says that Miriam, with the women, with their timbrels and their dances, Miriam was the one that was answering them, singing, Sing to Yehovah, he hath triumphed gloriously, the horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. This is what their song is. This is the song that comes out of the heart of Moses. Now, we don't know exactly when they sang this song. And you know, to think that they crossed the Red Sea and they all broke out, 600,000 men plus women and children, that they all just started, spontaneously singing this song like it's a musical in Hollywood. It may be a little unrealistic. It could be that they were led by the Spirit, all of them, to do it all at the same time, but more likely, what makes sense is that after this event, the heart of Moses was so filled that this just poured right out of him. The music was there, everything was there. It was all in one piece. And so we're gonna start right here with the chorus, I will sing unto Yehovah, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider he has thrown in the sea. And why is this an important chorus right here? Because this is what the Almighty said that he would do, that he would harden Pharaoh's heart, that he would be honored by what Pharaoh would do. He would be glorified in that all of the strength of Egypt, all of the military smarts of one who commanded this incredible army, yet the Almighty says, I am going to show my power in this very thing. Yehovah shall reign forever and ever. For the horse of Pharaoh went in with his chariots and his horsemen into the sea. Yehovah brought the waters again of the sea upon them, but the children of Israel went on dry land in the midst of the sea. And in verse 20 it tells us that Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and dancing. And this is where it tells us that Miriam answered, Sing to Yehovah, he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider he hath thrown into the sea. Moses brought Israel from the Yam Suf, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we call dangerous. You don't go out into the wilderness without water, and obviously they had water with them, but they have got all their livestock with them. And to be able to water the livestock and the people for 3 days down in this desert, you have no idea how hot this is.
The Israelites began their journey in the desert around the time of March and April. The early rains would have come in the winter, nourishing the plant life all over. That's why there's sprouts of greenery all over. The desert people call this green pastures, which is mentioned in Psalms 23. God provides every little step as he provided for the Israelites when they were in the desert.
It rains about 2 inches every 10 years. 2 inches in 10 years down in that particular area. And so now we are out there. We are traveling for 3 days and there is no water. And then we came to what we later called Mara. It wasn't called Mara when we first got there. You're going to find out why. And it says that we could not drink of the waters of Mara because they were bitter. Mara means bitter. So, we named the place Bitter Water because the water was actually bitter. And we wouldn't know to call it Mara before we tried to drink the water, but that's why we call it Mara, bitter. And it says that the people murmured against Moses, like he's at fault here. They have seen the hand of the Almighty and displayed in such a way you would think that Moses would be the last one they'd be complaining to, but the people are starting to murmur and they're complaining. And saying to Moses, what are we going to drink? What are we going to drink? And Moses cried unto Yahovah, and Yahovah showed him a tree. Now, they were at these waters, and it was bitter. They couldn't drink the water. And so, so they call the place Mara. This is bitter water. What are we going to drink? You brought us out here, what? There are no graves in Egypt again? You can almost imagine what they are kvetching about at this moment in time. And it's all Moses' fault. What are we going to drink? And so it says that Moses called out. He cried unto Yahovah. He wasn't complaining. He was just, okay, what do I do? I need some help here. And then Yahovah showed him a tree. And so he then cast the tree into the water, and the waters were made sweet. Now, we don't know exactly what he showed him about what to do. It could have been that he said, okay, want you to go over to that particular tree. I want you to cut it down. Then I want you to burn this tree to pure ash. And then after it's burned to pure ash, then I want you to take this ash and I want you to put it in this water. And then after they do that, then they strain it out and then the water's pure. We don't know exactly what was done, but we know here is revelation that is coming from heaven. He crawls out to the Almighty, he prays, and it says, I need some help here. Then the Almighty gives him specific things to do. Now, we're not given all the details on this here, but we know it had to do with a specific tree and that he was to somehow cast it into the waters, and the waters were made sweet. Now, could be you just took an axe and threw it in, it was all right. But it probably makes more sense, with how I laid it out here, that there was something that they did, some kind of mechanical, some kind of chemical thing that took place to change it. But at that point, the waters were made sweet. They could drink them. And there it says, he made for them a statue and an ordinance. And there is where he proved them. And he said, if you will diligently hearken to the voice of Yahovah, your Elohim, and will do that which is right in his eyes, and will give ear to his commandments and keep all of his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon you which I brought upon the Egyptians. For I am Yehovah that heals thee. I am Yehovah that heals thee.
Jenny, how would you describe the difference between probiotics and antibiotics? Some of our viewers aren't quite sure what a probiotic or an antibiotic are.
Probiotics and antibiotics can be be utilized to improve your health, but cannot be used interchangeably. While antibiotics are used to fight bacterial infections, probiotics are most commonly utilized to repopulate helpful bacteria in the human body. Anyone using an antibiotic should be taking probiotics alongside of the antibiotic. Probiotics restore the good bacteria that the antibiotics killed off. Probiotics should be taken daily on an empty stomach before bed and with a cold glass of water.
So probiotics go to battle for us in our gut to help keep us healthy.
Exactly. Probiotics are live microorganisms that help counteract bacteria that are causing problems such as diarrhea. Probiotics may also help decrease inflammation.
To learn more about probiotics, go to www.aroodawakening.tv/body, soul, spirit.
And then they came to Aleem, where there were 12 wells of water, and 70 palm trees. That's 70 palm trees, and they encamped there by the water. So this is just a quick stop off. It was 3 days in. They were running out of water. The people were panicking. They were starting to fetch and complain to Moses. And finally, Moses said, calls out to the Almighty. He gives them the revelation of what to do. They're able to then water the flocks and themselves, and then continue to move on until they get to Aleem. And there are 70 palm trees.
Aleem was a welcoming oasis after traveling for several days in the desert. There was an estimated over 2 million Israelites that left Egypt. They all had their cattle with them and had to feed and water everyone. After looking at the desert for days, this was a welcome sight.
Let us take a look in a little bit more detail about where we are. The Song of Moses and the fetching of critics. See, Moses, the song that was in his heart was the great revelation that had transpired. The Almighty revealed himself. He revealed his name. He revealed his power. And because of that, Egypt was absolutely crushed. The gods of Egypt were exposed as the fiction of someone's imagination, and now we see that Moses has a song in his heart that then he teaches all of the nation of Israel. But yet there were those who, instead of in everything give thanks, in everything they wanted to complain. In 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 18 we read, "In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Yeshua Messiah concerning you." Now that can be a very difficult thing. In everything give thanks. In the only way that you can do that, in everything, even when things go bad, Lee, you can still give thanks because of what we understand from the scriptures. In Romans 8, in verse 28, Shaul is writing to the Roman believers, and he says, "We know that all things work together for good, to them that love God, to those who are the called according to his purpose." If we are, according to his purpose, living in his will, if this is where we are, if we love God, we know that everything works together for good. It is like a tapestry that the Almighty is weaving together. We do not see how every single strand and how it interacts and interrelates with others, but finally, we get to a place where we can step back a little ways and we can see that the Almighty has used us in weaving together an incredible tapestry that only He could mastermind. We couldn't possibly have orchestrated this. And this is why the Scripture is given to us, so that we can continue to study it and apply it, and that we can be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. That the faith that we gain from hearing, we put into action, and even when we're tried, when we're tested, then we find that with the test we become stronger, and we can stand more because we've been tried and we have not given up. We could not, Moses could not, there's no way that you could ever, on your own ability, part the Red Sea and then get Pharaoh to chase you in and then bury him. You know, this is the hand of the Almighty. There's no question about it. And so we can see that every step of the way, even when Moses went back to Pharaoh and said, "Let my people go, let them go out and sacrifice," and he said, "These people are idle, idle. From now on, they're going to be given no straw. They have to make the same tally of bricks every day, but no straw. Let them go out and glean it for themselves." Oh, the Israelites were irate. "What are you doing? You're killing us." Well, it made them strong for the journey ahead, traveling day and night, 7 days, 7 nights, to cross the Sinai Peninsula. All things work together for good. In Philippians, it says, "Being confident of this very thing, that he that hath begun a good work in you will perform it until the day of Yeshua Messiah." See, he was speaking to the believers in Philippi, saying that work which was begun in them, he was confident that the Almighty was able to continue building on that work and perfect them and bring them to the time, the coming of the Messiah, whether it's in the resurrection or if the trumpet sounds, either way, that he will continue working on them. And this is what we are doing in our lives, to continue to work and to grow up. As he says in the 2nd chapter, in verse 12, "Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling." Now the word salvation here is sozo in Greek, which is technically very accurate, sozo, which means to be made whole. Work out your own wholeness with fear and trembling. See, we are not yet saved. When the captain of our salvation comes and changes our body in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, when that happens, that is when we will be saved, we'll be made completely whole. But until then, we are working out our wholeness, our salvation. It is something that every area of our life needs redemption. It needs to be brought up to a higher level. We need to be reconciled more and more with the true God and his purpose in our life. So we're working out our own wholeness with fear and trembling. It's our responsibility to come into a righter relationship with the Almighty and to walk with him. And verse 13, "For it is God which works in you both to will, to know, and to do of his good pleasure, by the Holy Spirit within us, which is to lead us into all truth." This is what is to show us the will of the Father so that we can do his good pleasure. "Do all things," it continues on, verse 14, "without murmuring and disputing, that you may be blameless and harmless, the sons of God, without rebuke, in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, among whom you shine as lights." So in everything give thanks.
The bills were adding up. I was at the end of my rope and wasn't sure what to do. Then I stopped to watch my daughter. How could she be so calm when I was so stressed? And then it hit me. As her mother, she had faith in me to provide for her. She never doubted. She just did her thing, trusting that Mom would make everything okay. It's exactly what I wasn't doing. I needed to trust that my Father in heaven would make everything okay.
Sometimes all it takes is faith the size of a mustard seed to change your world. Right now, with your gift of any amount to A Rood Awakening International, we'll send you the Faith of a Mustard Seed pendant necklace, a reminder that your Father in heaven has everything under control. Call today or visit our website to make your donation and receive the Faith of a Mustard Seed pendant necklace.
It is all Scripture is given by inspiration of God. It's profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be perfect. The word perfect is artios, which is used in Greek literature as a ship which is fully outfitted for its voyage in life. That the man of God may be perfect, completely outfitted. And this is why the Scripture is given to us, so that we can continue to study it and apply it, and that we can be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. That the faith that we gain from hearing, we put into action, and even when we're tried, when we're tested, then we find that with the test we become stronger, and we can stand more because we've been tried and we have not given up. Remember, Satan is not an all-powerful adversary. You keep kicking in the doors, because Satan cannot cover all the bases. As James went on to say, God resists the proud, but he gives grace, empowerment to the humble. The word humble is meek, those that are teachable. Those that are proud can't be taught anything. Oh, they know everything. It's like the people are constantly commenting, while I'm trying to teach on the internet. All they want to do is show everyone how much they know. These idiots don't know anything. They're so proud because they think that they are God's gift to the universe. And then you go over and see, after you do all their comments, that, they've got 3 people that have actually subscribed to them. He resists the proud. You have got to let it go, let it down. But he gives grace to those who are teachable. Therefore, submit yourself to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. And that's why I say, when you are in a battle, you don't say, well, maybe it's not God's will. If you learn God's will, his word is his will. This is where you learn what his will is. And he can give revelation, but if this is what it says, like, go into all the world, preach the gospel to the whole world. The gospel of the kingdom must be preached in all nations for a witness. This is what he says. What if you get resistance? Oh, we give up. No, you kick in every possible door. Kick it in. Because Satan, if he's fighting against you, he can't cover all the bases. He's not omniscient. And so you hit it from 5 different angles, you are going to mess his life up. He is not going to be able to figure it out, and you will be given revelation of how to work around the barriers. If you are fighting against the Almighty, however, it doesn't matter how you kick and scream, you are going to fail, and you're going to finally say, hey, I'm not fighting against the devil. He would have given up. I'm fighting against heaven. And then you back off and say, okay, Lord, show me your will. Show me the way that you want to go in this. Keep kicking in the door. Now, I want to read something from Theodore Roosevelt, that an address he delivered in Paris in 1910. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming. But who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself for a worthy cause, who, at the best, knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who, at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who knew neither victory nor defeat. When criticized, the Proverbs tell us what to do. And in Proverbs 26:4, answer a fool according to his folly, lest thou be answer not a fool according to his folly, lest thou also be like unto him. And then the very next proverb is, answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own conceit. And so both of these are wisdom, and every individual incident requires that we take a look at what we do in life. Do we answer fools according to their folly? Sometimes you need to correct them so that they're not cocky in their own deceit. But other times when you try to correct a fool, all you do is get yourself a blotch on this. The critics, the extras on the set will never understand. Those who wanted to fetch and chide Moses, they never entered the promised land. They were extras on the set. But Daniel tells us, the people that know their God shall be strong and do exploits. They that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet they will fall by sword and by flame and by captivity and by spoil many days. But when they fall, they will be helped with a little help. But many will cleave to them with flatteries, empty pledges of fidelity. But yet some of them of understanding shall fall, but it's to try them and to make them white. When we're tried, that is when faith is faith. Untried faith is not yet faith.
Thank you for watching today's teaching with Michael Rood. Join us again next time for another adventure.